Ladies and gentlemen, Wyatt Earp, and I've had an idea for this kit for a long time. Is I wanted to build Wyatt Earp from Star Trek Spectre of the Gun episode, and I thought that would be different from all the other Wyatt Earps that are built out there. And I was like, how can I do it? And I had an idea one day. This kit comes with. Let me get the old instructions out here. The only base he gets is a stump, and I'm not a real big fan of it. I thought it's cool and all, but not either. He really needs a more base, for stability and just. But don't know why they went that way. But I was like, how can I incorporate, Star Trek Wyatt Earp, and that is. If I can find it here, wanted to make a Melkotian, and I thought, well, how can I incorporate the Melkotian into the base here? And I had an idea of putting it on the stump, so it kind of hides the stump, and of course I'll have to make a little bit bigger base, but I thought that's a simple little conversion to make, Spectre of the Gun, to make a kit that's not Star Trek, but you can still make it non-Star Trek, just with a little bit of science fiction in it, just enough to, like everyone, like, hey, I know what that is. So this is my version of the Melkotian, and first thing I had to do was I always try to sculpt a prototype. This is out of sculpting. I am not a sculptor at all. I like to dabble in it, but I am not. And all I did was wadded up a bowl, try to get the basic shape, and not too bad. And I decided, well, I need something a little. I could bake it, but this is more the prototype stage. And one thing about sculpting for me is I am impatient when it comes to sculpting. I want to hurry up, which I can paint and build a model and take my time, but when it comes to sculpting, you just kind of want to see the end. But anyway, that's the Sculpey prototype. So I took epoxy sculpt and went ahead and sculpted them out. For the eyes, those are actual stainless steel ball bearings, but you might know them as stir balls that go in acrylic paint. And I got all different sizes because some of the paints that I have don't have them. I know AK and Ammo Mig have them, and all the Valeos don't. So I had to pretty much put them in like every bottle. They do help. If you've not done it, I highly recommend it. It's just they do help shake up the paint. But I did get him pretty much sculpted. I'm pretty satisfied with him because I did find the original mask that they made for the show, and that's what I went off of. So I mean, it looks pretty close. I mean, and it also, if I if I wanted to, I could kit it. I made it simple enough to where it's of course it's got a big undercut right there, but would have to fix that for production. But for a one-off, and if I ever had to make a copy, be easy enough to do. But anyway, there is my Melkotian. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but not too bad. And I wanted a little bit of color too. Also, when we start painting, is basically you want to paint Wyatt Earp. Not the Hugh O'Brien version, but the Spectre of the Gun colors once we get to the painting stage. But he, is basically, I want to say rainbow colors. So you have a little spot of color, sitting on like that with his foot above it. So it give it just a little bit of, just something different, when you see Wyatt Earp, and then you'll see mine sitting there. The kit is really good for its age. It's one of those, it goes together really good. It's one of those kits, and I've noticed this with older kits, you can't clamp it. And when I say clamp it, I mean you know, get you clamps and really, you know, clamp it down and really get a good bite. These kits, the older kits, I've noticed, because then you have to start having I want to say warped out seams that kind of like push out. But if you you know, just light pressure and glue it down, you don't really need no putty whatsoever, and just sand the seam and you're good to go. It did have one tiny little seam that was on the leg, and I'm waiting for it to dry because I probably chopped them all up. I took the sprue after I took the parts off and put it in a little bottle with about 1/4 of liquid cement and make styrene putty, and you can make it, you know, as thick as you want. And it's one of those, it's a trial by error. If you just play around, you can make it thinner, you can make it thicker, you can also make it thick to the point where you can sculpt with it. And once it dries, and it's takes a little bit to dry, I mean, it's not like, you know, putty where it, you know, starts air drying real quick. Once it dries, you can start sanding it, and it's just like sanding the plastic kit, you know. I don't hardly use red putty anymore. I start using the styrene putty, if you will. It's just old school. It also, I think, actually bites into the plastic a lot better, and basically sanding kit on kit, if that makes sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've got the kit mostly assembled in sub-assembly parts, and I have been just cleaning up the seams here and there. Got to finish up the leg, and I'm almost certain, you know, the head here is supposed to be, I assume the kit is supposed to be Hugh O'Brien from the Legend of Wyatt Earp, the old TV show in the late 50s. Because I believe the Spectre of the Gun, Wyatt Earp, you know, he's got a little bit of a mustache, which we will put that in with a little bit of epoxy sculpt. But sub-assembly, he does have one little, I won't say not a hole, but a little gap on his side here. I had to fill that in with the putty. And other than that, fits really good. I mean, we'll have to do a little blending seam work on the arm there, but anyway, other than that, taking shape. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I have got going on today. We are working on Wyatt Earp, but we're going to make him a Melkotian Star Trek Wyatt Earp. So that's what we got going on today. Stay tuned for next exciting episode.